The two complete each other. One is the question, why do I live? The other is the answer, because God made it so. Who is troubled by the thought of the finality of life? All will die, all will turn to dust. Nothing that is material will be eternal. So, how is it that people can conduct themselves in a manner that constitutes an air of reason? It is because they put their hope and faith in something eternal. They stake their existence on something greater than themselves. To answer the question, why am I here despite the fact that everything is finite and destined to dissipate? They find a God to put their faith in. That is the only reasonable way to conduct ourselves in a world where, when we are questioned with the meaning of life, and there being no material thing in the universe that can give us an answer. Now, this God we put our faith in cannot be of the material, because, as was mentioned, the crux of the question of life is that there is nothing in the universe that will last, and so the God must be greater than that what is observed in the universe. I believe those who formulated mythologies of gods knew this on a subconscious level. The question of life is unanswerable without the eternal, a fact known by the youngest child to the wisest elder. To live without this acknowledgement is to walk blindly into despair. Human beings naturally search for permanence, for some truth that stands untouched by decay. When that search is directed towards the material world, everything eventually collapses under its own impermanence. Wealth fades, power shifts, and even the greatest achievements are swallowed by time. Thus, the heart cannot root itself in the finite without eventually falling into anguish. The eternal alone provides a foundation that does not crumble. When putting our faith into the material to answer the question of life, we will become troubled by its finality. Yet we attempt this constantly in our lives, through vocation, through relationships, through ambition, through legacy. We continue to convince ourselves that meaning can be built upon things destined to vanish, but this is only a temporary distraction. Once the illusion breaks, the emptiness returns, sharper than before, and they are left seeking again for what cannot be found in the temporal. What about this claim, the finite is okay, because life is more beautiful when it's finite? This sentiment often arises from a desire to romanticize the impermanence, to give poetic significance to the fact that everything passes. But beauty alone does not answer the question of purpose. A beautiful sunset is still gone the moment night arrives. If meaning rests solely on beauty, then meaning is as fragile as the moment that contains it. The assertion tries to soothe the fear of death, but it cannot offer a real answer to why one lives, only a distraction from asking. Beauty can accompany meaning, but it cannot serve as its source. What about progress? Progress must surely give us meaning. However, there is no such thing as infinite progress or eternal development, because development and perfection have no bearing on the limits to the amount we can achieve as humans and as humanity. So therefore, development and perfection can have no purpose in infinity, no direction, and because all things must end. Therefore, this gives us no answer to the question as to why we live. But if progress or beauty cannot give us meaning, then we are forced to return to the same question of motive. For what and for whom do we live? If the pursuit of progress ends in the same emptiness as every other finite aim, then the direction of our actions must come from something beyond a mere human advancement. Once the illusion of infinite progress collapses, we must confront the true source of our desires and ask what ultimately guides the way we live. Is it for God's glory or is it for your own? Why do you do the things you do? Is it for the love of yourself or for the love of God? The sacraments you partake in are akin to an empty cup when they are done for yourself, but when done for the glory of God, are as a cup overflowing with water. It lies centered on the self-inevitability, circles back into vanity and to frustration, because the self alone is too small a vessel to contain attain the purpose of life. A life oriented toward God, however, participates in something truly infinite, something capable of giving direction, fulfillment, and peace. Only in this orientation does every act, every moment, and every breath find its rightful meaning.